And a million faces formed together, made for elevation. And my soldier won't surrender. Faith is like a fire that never bursts to embers. The voice of the unheard. Love is the answer.
I gotta speak it, believe it, that's how I feel inside.
I can't sit here quiet.
You can take my heart, you can take my breath when you pry it from my cold dead chest.
This is how we rise up. Heavy as a hurricane, louder than a freight train. This is how we rise up. Heart is beating faster, feels like thunder. Magic static, call me a fanatic. It's our world, they can never have it. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance, you can't resist us. Can you hear me? Are you listening? Sleeping and the shadows could be making history. Through the fire, on the water, used to be a slave, but now you are a conqueror.
They can take my heart, they can take my breath when they pry it from my cold dead chest.
This is how we rise up. Heavy as a hurricane, louder than a freight train. This is how we rise up. Heart is beating faster, feels like thunder. Magic static, call me a fanatic. It's our world, they can never have it. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance, you can't resist us. We're rising up, rising up, we're rising up, rising up, we're rising up. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance, you can't resist us. This is how we rise up. Heavy as a hurricane, louder than a freight train. This is how we rise up. Heart is beating faster, feels like thunder. Magic static, call me a fanatic. It's our world, they can never have it. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance, you can't resist us.
welcome everybody to another episode of Straight Talk with Joe Vollano. Guys, we have a lot to talk about. We got a lot going on. First and foremost, I want to say a big thank you to everybody out there, because last month was our largest month for this show ever. In the year and a half we've been doing it, we had over 18,000 views last month. So that's tremendous in itself. And we had over 120 new members to the to the Straight Talk page. So again, I thank you guys so much for the support, and that means people are paying attention. Now, who was paying attention last week was the SEC, because I got a call from them on Monday. So we're gonna go over what they talked about first. But first, let's because I know we're gonna have new people here. And there's always new people that are jumping on every week. So for those who don't know who I am Joe Vollano. I am your host, your guiding light through all the craziness going on in the world today, especially here in the city and the state. So if this is your first time here, thank you for joining us, and it is a pleasure to have you here. Hope you find this show exciting and entertaining and informative, which is most important. But like I said, this show is always most successful when you guys are part of it. I think that's what makes this show so successful. So if you want to call in, 203-679-9610, 203-679-9610. And if you just want to email us, it's straighttalkjv@gmail.com. I got my email up here as they're coming in. And of course, if you're on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn, you can use the message board. I see it is up and running. It's a little quiet to start the night tonight, but it is there. And if you have any questions, well, just feel free to type in there. I try to keep up with what you guys are talking about as much as possible. So again, if you want to put your comments there, it is to do so there. And you will be seeing for the next 6 months, you're going to be seeing this on the bottom of this left-hand screen. So like I said, we talked about, obviously some things changed with myself running for office. Last week we talked about what the SEC said. Well, they had an opportunity to watch the show last week, and I got a call on Monday morning from their attorneys, and they are making me put a disclaimer on this page, on this show, even though this show is not paid for by anybody, and there is no money spent or received from this show. All this stuff that you see here behind me and all this equipment that you see is something that I paid for myself, but the SEC feels more comfortable since the show is named after myself and the fact that we do talk about politics. We do need to put a disclaimer. So you'll see that on the bottom page for by Vollano 2022, Josh Borkster, Treasurer. And of course, this is approved by Joe Vollano. So as always, this stuff is always approved by Joe Vollano, and Joe Vollano stands by anything he says. So you will see this disclaimer on the bottom left hand of your screen for the foreseeable future until the campaign is over. So November 9th, you'll see it coming off. A little bit of news. Straight Talk will be going on the road in July. July 17th through the July 17th, our show will be coming live from Washington, D.C. So we will be doing a live show from there. We'll try to line up as many of our elected officials that are down there as possible, whether it's Joanna Hayes, who is the Congress member from the 5th District. We'll try to get her on the show. Obviously, we're going to try to get Mr. Cardona on the show while we're down there, and we'll reach out to both of our senators and other representatives around the state. So, again, that's July 17th. We'll be doing our show live from Washington, D.C. So that is going to be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to it. But again, let's jump right on in here because we do have a lot of stuff to talk about. And as always, we always start off the show with what the hell is going on in Ukraine. And it is getting worse and worse. And the United States seems to just want to stand by and watch it happen. So over the last week, they found bodies of 410 civilians that have been murdered by Russian forces. And yet, again, we are still going to sit by and do nothing. While the world sits there and watches in horror, it looks like NATO, looks like the surrounding countries and the United States, of course, will do nothing about it. And they're just going to let Russia have their way, even though Ukraine is doing an amazing, again, I've been saying this since day one, Ukraine is doing an absolutely amazing job at fighting back. And this is what happens when you have love for country and you're not ready to step aside and let anybody come into your country. But I'm waiting for some good news to come out of Washington. I don't see it happening. I think they're just going to let this just play out and until one side wins, and they're just going to try to downplay it as much as possible. I don't see how that is going to work out for them. It's not going to work out for them for the surrounding world. These countries need to step up and do something now. But we're on week, 7? And still nothing. I don't expect that to change. They're just waiting for people to try to forget about it. It's almost like COVID. They just keep going, and then all of a sudden it just disappeared one day. And if they don't talk about it, it doesn't exist. So I guess that's what they're trying to go with. But we'll keep track of that as we go. As like I said, we always start the show with what's going on over there. And fighting continues. And like I said, we just sit back and just watch in horror. But here back in the States, we actually have a lot, especially here in the town. We have a lot going on. So let's go through what events they have coming up. The Easter special Extrada special Easter. So the Parks and Recs is inviting children to hop through the green to collect treats, and that's April 9th. And that's going to be noon to 2 at the Meriden Green. It looks like a variety of companies and organizations are going to have tables set up for goodies and treats. Fill Her Up will most likely be there. So we will get in on that. If anyone missed the parade last week, the parade was awesome. And Fill Her Up, listen, I was pretty psyched because I always like driving the truck in parades. So it was a great time. It was well attended. Love seeing all the people get out of their houses and show up for the parade. I know we handed out candy. I know a lot of people did. I know Nelcon handed out a ton of candy with their trucks there. So it was a great time. If you guys did not get out there, that's a shame because it was a great time and everyone should have been out there to support all the local organizations that came out. But if you missed that one, you still have an opportunity to go bring your little ones. I know Tucker's going to be excited about this. April 9th from noon to 2 on the green. Obviously, Meriden Little League has opening day April 23rd. So they have a lot of activities starting at 8 o'clock. I'm going to throw something out there because it's something that me and a Board of Education member talked about. I think we came up with a solution for this whole mess going down on the green, on the ballparks. So we're going to talk about that in a second. Children under 9 only don't get to play the season because of the pandemic restrictions, but they get the chance to play this season. So they didn't get to play last year. They're going to play again. They're going to be able to play this year. So that's always good. So again, opening day is April 23rd, starting at 8 a.m. So before I get into the Daffodil Dash and stuff, I think a perfect solution for this whole issue. I think the Board of Ed needs to give back this project to the Parks Department. The Parks Department needs to put in a grant for through the ARPA funds for $2 million to pay to keep the fields the way they are now. That configuration, because the 3 fields are needed. Keep the 3 fields, and we're going to build a full court basketball hoop in the back. They got plenty of space to do that. And then they turn around and the Board of Ed will get their money back, which is $1.8 million that they get to use to do either one of 2 things. One, they could do more stuff for the children, which is what it's supposed to be used for, or they could upgrade the softball fields at Maloney and Platt and still have money saved over. So I think that is a better way moving forward because, again, the Board of Ed does not own that property, and there's no reason for the city to be handing it over. It does nothing for the children of the educational system. So therefore, it should not be the responsibility of the Board of Ed to sit there and redo those fields. So that's where I stand on that now. Like I said, I haven't been for that project to begin with, but I think that's an easy solution. And again, it keeps, and then if they talk about maintaining the fields, well, we've been told many times by council people all over that we shouldn't be maintaining those fields anyways because they're artificial turf. And if it's artificial turf, well, then the Meriden Little League could keep up with maintaining those fields. So I think that's a good solution. Bob Williams, Mr. Williams, Councilman Williams. Let's see. It looks like they're planning a Memorial Day parade, May 30th, 10 a.m. start. All groups, car clubs, etc., are welcome to honor and remember our fallen heroes, which we always do. And he did not write who the Grand Marshal was, but I'm sure he's going to put it up there. So May 30th, we'll talk about that again a couple times as we get closer. Obviously, again, Filler Up's going to probably join in on that. And that is a 10 a.m. start on May 30th for the Memorial Day Parade. So, like I said, we'll keep you up to date on that. And Bob, I don't know if you were finishing a comment there, who the Grand Marshals are. Daffodil Dash, the 5K and Kids Fun Run. That just sounds exhausting just saying it. The Daffodil Dash 5K will take place on the 24th. The fun run starts at 9:45, which sounds more like my speed right there. But the 5K starts at 10 a.m. So the Meriden Running Club and the Parks and Recs Department are organizing the event together for the first time this year. So I didn't know Meriden had a running club. So if there is a club for runners, and if you're a runner, you should really probably jump on and join that club if you are not already. So I guess the event previously has been done by the Rotary Club, but early bird registration for the 5K starts on April 10th, and it's $10. If you do it after the 23rd, it's $15 to join. So if you're a runner, by all means, join it. Me, I'll do the fun run because hopefully that means I can walk. And of course, we've talked about it before, the Daffodil Festival. The Daffodil Festival will run through April 30th and May 1st. We are still trying to work out logistics. Straight Talk will do a show live from the Daffodil Festival. So, and that's going to be a Saturday night show. So we will do a Saturday night show from the Daffodil Festival, hopefully from our booth, if we could get the logistics worked out. So we're really excited about that. And of course, as always, parking will be at the mall, Lincoln School, Platt School, and and Wilcox. And of course, they'll have buses to transport. And finally, for announcements for tonight, obviously tonight we're going to wrap this thing up around 8 o'clock tonight because UConn Huskies women. No, listen, I'm not a big fan of women's basketball. Nothing sexist about it. It's just not exciting for me as men's basketball is. So again, don't take anything from that. I'm just not a big fan of women's basketball. But I am a big fan of UConn. So UConn will be playing South Carolina tonight at 8 o'clock on ESPN. So going for their 14th, can you believe 14th? I'm sorry, 12th. The 12th title in school history, which is unbelievable. WrestleMania's tonight. Oh boy. You know, I haven't watched WrestleMania since I was a kid. I can't get into wrestling anymore. It's just a little bit too much over the top for me. But, but again, UConn basketball tonight. I mean, I'm going to watch it just because it's a national championship game. It's UConn. I'm always in for a UConn game. I know my business partner is a huge UConn women's fan, and he goes to every game. And he went to the game in Bridgeport last week and he had an absolute blast. Double overtime. I mean, that's an exciting game. No matter whether it's women or men's. That's just an exciting game. So, obviously, Bob put his number up there. So, if you're a group that wants to be part of the parade, please give him a call to 203-641-4622. And, of course, Bob, count filler up in, and we'll obviously make a donation to the parade. But speaking of businesses, the Meriden Business Boost Grant Program. It's something we talked about on this show before when it came before the council, well, the steering committee and then the council. So applications start April 25th at 8 a.m. Through Friday, May 13th at 11:59 p.m. You can pre-register at the website, at the Meriden Business Boost Grant Program website. I wish I had it here to give you. It was way too long to fit in my screen. But this program is on a first come, first served basis, and it's for any Meriden-based business and nonprofit. I have already filled out mine. I did it when I first got it. But I did fill out my pre-application, and I will fill mine out when it starts. And it's free fundraising. Not fundraising, free advertising. And it's grants by the ARPA fund, and it was matched by the Record Journal. So good to Record Journal for matching that. And of course, businesses or nonprofits would also like to invest their own funds. They most certainly can, and they will match it. So if anyone put in $1,000, the Record Journal would match that. So that's pretty cool. And again, in addition to that, if you want to join the Mid-State Chamber of Commerce, they provide a $50 credit. Listen, I'm no fan of the Chamber of Commerce. I was in it for the first 3 years. To me, they didn't do anything for us, but they were, of course, first in line to try to take our money. And I wasn't just part of Mid-State. I also joined Hamden's because they're kind of collaborative with each other. But again, to me, money not well spent. But that's why I don't do it anymore. But that's my opinion on it. Some people may be different, may think differently, and that's good for them. Yeah, hey, listen, I praise everybody when they deserve praise, and I give them criticize them when they. And I'll give you a perfect example of that, Mr. Hansen, because you brought it up. If anyone noticed, I didn't talk about it last week. There was an article in the newspaper about the race coming up between with the two parties, with me and Lou Arata, who are running for state rep on the Republican side. And I got a call from the reporter, and not only did she not know I was running because they don't pay attention to what's going on, they didn't know that new party chairs were elected. They didn't know anything about what was going on. And my first thing to her was, how do you not know these things when you are the Record Journal? It is your job to know these things. It is the job of the local newspaper who covers this on a daily basis to not know what the hell is going on. But to me, it's not surprising because that's the Record Journal. I think they're an absolute disgrace to journalism. And that's just my opinion on it. But at the same time, when they do things good, and like this project here, I'll give you kudos for it. That doesn't mean you're any better of a journalist just because, you match funds from the state or from the government. They're still a crappy newspaper. Maybe that's because they have crappy reporters. That's my opinion, but it's based on fact. If you look at all the things they've gotten wrong. And then they put Josh Borkstra was my campaign manager in it. When he's not, he's my treasurer. It's just crazy to me. It's absolutely crazy to me. This is the Record Journal. This is who the people are supposed to be looking to for information. And their information is wrong. And it's usually wrong. It's crazy. Yeah, well, we did it here. And most of us should pay attention. So, but coming back to what we were talking about now, we're going to talk about the budget. And I saw there was two different things that I want to talk about. because first was an op-ed. First was the op-ed that was in the paper a couple days ago. And it said there are several reasons for Meriden residents to be concerned following a recent story about Tim Coon's projected $208.4 million budget. And they said the biggest worrisome to all Meriden residents should be a significant disagreement between Coon and Mayor Kevin Scarpati over personnel. Really? Really? There should be worrisome? Listen, the people elected Kevin Scarpati as mayor. The one big job of the mayor is to make sure that government and our spending is in check. And we're spending money wisely on behalf of the citizens of Meriden. Now, the city manager is not elected. He's appointed by the council. That's why we have checks and balances. The mayor checks the city manager. And if the mayor does not agree, which again, I happen to agree with the mayor, that we do not need an assistant city manager. And the more that the liberals on the council, the Democrats, and the more Tim Coon talks about needing more personnel, the more and more they make the case for bringing a strong mayor back to the city of Meriden. Because the mayor is already doing his job. And the mayor said it. I'm doing pretty much the public stuff that you don't have to do. We need to get to more efficient in our operations and work smarter, not harder. We are creating a hole given some of the decisions that have been made for them and the personnel. Listen, he's dead on accurate. Kevin is doing all the public appearances that our city manager should be doing. And if you're saying that you can't handle that kind of stuff, first of all, there should be an elected official handling all the public appearances anyways, because that's what they're elected to do. I don't believe the city manager should be needing to do public appearances. That's what the mayor's for. And it is time to revise the charter. Absolutely. And the more and more they talk about needing more and more personnel, the more and more they make the case for making a strong mayor. Now, will that ever happen? Not with the current makeup of the council. Absolutely not. I've said it here for the last year and a half. The council uses the mayor as a shield because most people don't understand how our government works. And when something happens, they're the first ones to go running to the mayor, blame the mayor. The mayor has no power in the city other than veto power. So the council is shielded from all negativity because the mayor absorbs it all. So, and the way this council works, the more they screw up, which has been a lot lately, why would they ever want to give that power away to somebody else? It would never happen unless the people force their hand. And honestly, to be realistic, I don't think there's that many awoken people here in the city of Meriden to make that happen. I wish I was wrong. But there's just not. Enough people are not paying attention to what's going on. Our dispatch center is still in disarray. Still, these people are working a ton of hours. And if he got that in line and he fixed that problem alone, it would free up a good portion of his day probably. But they don't worry about stuff like that. because they don't think there's a problem there. There is. And it needs to be fixed. And adding more and more employees is not the answer. Like the assessor's office. The assessor's office, there's not a problem. There's not a shortage of people that's the problem. It's the attitude that's in there. It's the culture that has been allowed to fester in that office. Talking down to customers, which are the taxpayers of this city. I think Kevin is dead on accurate on his assessment for hiring more personnel. And I hope when the time comes, because I know damn well that the liberals in this city and on this council are going to vote for these two personnel changes. And I'm hoping that the mayor strikes them down, because I think they will get the support of the 4 Republican We the People. And Bruce Fontanella already said he's against it. That's 5. That holds the veto in place. And I hope that's exactly what happens. And to sit there and to go bragging, I forget which article it was in, to sit there and go bragging about lowering the mill rate to 32? Don't break your friggin' arm trying to pat yourself on the back there, council. Because you're giving a hell of a lot of people a huge tax increase. So before you go breaking that arm, look at what you're really doing out there. And that's just a starting point. I expect by the time we're here, by the time all is said and done, we're probably looking at closer to 34 mills. I hope I'm wrong. But I don't think I am. And again, that's going to be a huge tax increase for a lot of people in this city. A lot of people that can't afford it. And I won't be surprised if come May, if this is how it continues to look, you see an awful lot. You're going to see an awful lot of houses go up for sale in the city of Meriden. I agree. 32 million is a joke. It should be down 29, 28. And that's doable. Will it happen? Again, I doubt it. I doubt it very much. Let's move on because it's already 7:30. Oh my God, time is like flying on by. So obviously we got a lot going on. I mean, let's talk just politics in general. I mean, we got some big elections coming up this year. And now another. I think this was expected by some people. I know I've heard the rumblings for months that there was an issue with our current senator, Mayor Abrams. And again, I wish her the best. If she is ill, I absolutely wish her the best, and I wish her family the best. And I hope she gets a speedy recovery. But she announced that she will not be seeking re-election for state senate here in the 13th district. And the 13th district covers Meriden, Cheshire, part of Cheshire, Middlefield, and part of Middletown. And she won that seat back in 2018 by a slim margin, but a margin of win nonetheless. And she has held that seat since 2018, but she is not running again this year. Obviously, there's been some health issues with her, but they didn't get into specifics on it. But no matter what the specifics are, again, just hopefully she gets better and she is able to live a happy life without politics and hopefully in good health. But again, that leaves a void in the 13th. So if we look back, let's look back at the races here. We have the 82nd, which is Michael Quinn. He just won last term, so this is his first re-election. Then you have the 83rd, obviously Kathy Abercrombie. She is not running. She is not running again this year, and that is the race that I am in. And then the 84th is Hilda Santiago, who is running for state Secretary of State. And from what it looks like, she has a pretty damn good chance of winning that nomination. So if she does win that nomination, that means she will not be able to run for state rep. And therefore, that opens another spot. So we could have 3 openings here in the city for the state positions. So it'll be very, very interesting the way this thing is going to shape up. The problem you have with the 13th, for like the 82nd, 83rd, 84th, obviously those are all district seats. Those two, 84 and the 82nd, are Meriden-only seats. Obviously, the 83rd has 3 different towns between Meriden, Berlin, and Cheshire now, which is a little bit more complicated. But the 13th is a Senate seat. And like I said, to cover 4 towns, you have to have a pretty good ground game. And that's why it's going to be really, really interesting to see who both sides pick, who Democrats pick and who Republicans pick. I could give my suggestions of who I think is going to be it. And I'll do it anyways. I will. I'll make, it's not a prediction because it's all depending on how things play out. People who are capable of doing it now is what I'm basing this on, just from years of experience and watching. For the Republican side, Len Suzio obviously is the first one to come to mind. Len Suzio has the ground game and already has the connections between all the towns. So obviously, if I was to say right now there is a clear front runner to win the race, if he decided to run, I think Len Suzio would be that guy. I think Len Suzio would probably right now have the best chance of anybody to win the seat. Next in line, who I think would have the best chance of winning that seat, obviously the mayor, Kevin Scarpati. Whether he went Republican or Democrat, I don't think it would matter. I think he'd have a very good chance of winning that seat. Again, he has the ground game here in Meriden. He would need to obviously expand that out to other towns, but I think he would be a viable candidate for that position. And those are really the only 2 that come to mind. As that would be 2 people that would be ready to go day one to hit the pavement running. It's going to be very interesting to me to see who they elect or who they nominate to run those districts. But, I still think it's going to be very interesting. So there's going to be a lot more. Obviously, they don't have to have any nominations until May. I believe the 13th. I believe the deadline is, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the 15th. I believe. It may be a little earlier. But I believe that around May 15th, I think, is the convention for the 13th district for state Senate. So anyone who's going to run would have to declare there. I know Republicans do have one candidate that's a Gwyn that's running an exploratory committee. Gwyn, if you're watching, you could call in. I had never met you before. I don't know who you are. So I've tried to do some research on her. She seems to be a advocate, but I've never heard of her or seen her or met her before. So if she watches, she could always feel free to call into the show. You'll be given plenty of time to sit there and introduce yourself. But she's the only person so far that has shown any interest in the 13th. So again, we'll see how that plays out. I think that would actually be a pretty good race having both of those candidates in. It'd be interesting. But I think, again, Len Suzio, I think, would probably be the person that has the best chance going out of the gate right now. But, again, we wish Senator Abrams the best of luck in her and taking care of her health and recovering. I would say she's done a good job, but she hasn't. So I'm not gonna blow smoke up anyone's you know what. I won't go that far. I think she's done a horrible job, but politics and personal stuff is two different things. And I think that's one thing people need to realize. And I think that if people always ask, I've been asked a couple of times, what makes a good politician and a good person? I think it's to be able to separate the two. Be able to separate the two. Just because I disagree with your politics does not mean I don't like you as a person. And for me, like Kathy Batista comes to mind for me. Now, Kathy Batista, if anyone doesn't remember, she was a city councilwoman here in the city. So for Kathy Batista, while I absolutely disagreed with her on everything, and I think she's a horrible politician, but I think she's a tremendous woman. And I think she's a tremendous human being, just due to the fact that, listen, when Aaron got sick and had brain cancer, and it was the middle of a campaign, and every time I saw her, the first thing was always, how's Aaron? How's Joseph? How's Tucker? How are you doing? And this is coming from, people that totally 100% disagree with each other on politics. But at the end of the day, we're all humans. And we're all people, and we're all citizens of the city, and we do have to take care of one another and look out for one another. And I think that that's what's missing in politics today. I think people take things way too personally. Way too personally. You cannot take politics personally. It is a recipe for disaster. You're just going to be miserable. And if you're in politics on any level, whether it's a town committee member, whether you're a candidate, you have to understand. You have to have thick skin. You have to be ready for disagreement, and you need to be able to handle it in an appropriate way. Like I said, most of my friends are Democrats. Obviously, I live in the city of Meriden. I'm surrounded by them. I have friends that are social, that are proclaimed socialists, that are strong liberals, and some that are conservatives. But we get along because at the end of the day, we all know that we care about each other, and at the end of the day, we have the same goals. We just have different ways of getting to that goal. Some just rather have it be big government. I rather have it small government. But they believe they're right. I believe I'm right. But at the end of the day, I love them all the same. We can agree to disagree, and we move on. That is what's missing in politics. That's why there's no trust in politics. That's why most people hate politicians, because politicians will tell you what you want to hear and then do the total opposite. And then when you get mad at them, they get mad at you, and next thing you know, there's an argument, and therefore you get to disliking each other. And it really serves no purpose. Listen, people know where I stand on everything. Because people ask me, well, Joe, how are you going to run if Democrats hate you, if you're public enemy number one on Democrats' hit list? No. For elected officials, I may be the number one target for them. And that's fine. But for the people out there, for the average person out there, I am nowhere near number one. And they respect that they know where I stand on no matter the issue. Ask me the question, I'll answer. You might not like the answer, but you're going to get it nonetheless. And if you agree with me, great. Vote for me. If you don't agree with me, vote for the other guy. What am I going to do? I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to blow smoke up your ass. That's not me. Everybody knows where I stand on any given issue. It's not a big secret. But again, it's because I'm willing to take the arrows. Because at the end of the day, that doesn't matter to me. The only thing that matters to me is what's best for the people of the city and the state. That's all I care about. And this country. It's the only thing I care about. So, like I said, learn to separate politics from personal. There is no one in this city I dislike. No one. I will not agree with you. And I might think you're an absolute terror. Even Sonia Jelks. Even Sonia Jelks. I think she's totally misguided. But do you know me and Sonia Jelks used to do events together? In fact, the last one we did together was Chamberlain Heights. We were doing a book bag handout. And it was her and her daughters. And it was me and Joseph. And Aaron was there. And we got along just fine. This is when she first got on the council, before she went all crazy. And Ernestine Holloway, yes. And now they both hate me. They both hate my guts now because I have an opinion now. Because I voiced my opinion, they now hate me. But that's okay. But on another piece of good news, though, the library is open in the mall. In case anyone didn't know. So the Meriden Library opened in the mall. They're over in the Old Navy spot. And I love how they sit there and say it moved to a temporary location, even though now I'm hearing news of people wanting to make it a permanent location. It's like, really? They just opened the friggin' thing. They just opened the thing. Now you want to make it permanent? It's like, come on, people. Sean, I'd be all for the library staying there, and let's do something else. Let's stop the renovation and just knock down that building and do something else. Let's do something else. So you're the leader of the Joseph Vollano fan club. Who are you kidding? But so now the mall is the mall location is open. I know Aaron and Joseph and Tucker went yesterday. Yes, they went yesterday or today. It was yesterday they went. They liked it. They said it's pretty small. I haven't been there yet. So I'm going to try to get there sometime this week because I want to check it out. But to sit there and say now we need to have two locations, listen, we didn't need an expansion of the first one. We don't need an addition of a second location. We're already paying enough. We do not need to have another location. So let's just use it for what it is. And if anything, I'm going to be very interested. I'm going to be very interested to see what the numbers are there. Because they were putting numbers out that they were getting 700 people at the library at the main location. Now, I wasn't buying that number, 700 people, because they were going by the click of that thing, of the thing when you walked in the door, in the counter. And I always argue that, well, if people left to go smoke a cigarette and came back in, it wasn't a new person. They were just walking through again. So those numbers were inflated. I think what you're going to have at the mall will give you a much more accurate representation of how many people are using it. So I'm really interested to see over the next couple months how many people are actually using it. So, and we definitely don't need to turn that into more housing down there. So, again, so the library is up and running. Like I said, I hear it's small, but I hear it serves its purpose well for what it needs to be. And on top of that, they are using obviously the school buildings also for extended libraries. I think it's at the schools. But again, if you're going to the mall, by all means, stop in there. Check it out because I'm sure it's going to be very interesting. Make it a senior. I don't know about that. I think it'd be a little too small for a senior center. But I still think a senior center down on the green, I think it would be an excellent choice for a location for it. And again, I think using the rescue funds for that, I think would be well-used money. So, listen, no one goes to the... we don't have enough time in this show to talk about the mall. I think we'll talk about the mall next week. We can. I do see that mall surviving. I see it turning into I see it turning into more of a healthcare facility than a mall, but it's going to be a hybrid. And to get into more detail on that, we'll do next week if you like. I think ultimately it's going to be Yale, New Haven. I think Hartford Health is going to join in on that. And I think you're going to have some nighttime stuff like the dinner theater, and you're going to see some new restaurants coming in there because obviously there's money there to be spent because they're doctors, they're nurses, they're people who are working. They have disposable income. And as always, we explain on this show, when you have disposable income, you have people who are going to spend money. And I think the mall will benefit from having the healthcare professionals there. But we'll get into that. No Dave & Buster's. I know you keep bringing up Dave & Buster's every single time. No Dave & Buster's going there. I think you're going to see the dinner theater. I think you're going to see some newer restaurants come in down there. I think you're going to see a couple of stores come in there that are more geared towards the medical profession, like scrubs and stuff like that. I think you're going to see a cigar shop. We'll probably join in down there, and maybe like a Top Golf or a Top Flight golf thing that you might see in there. That's my prediction of what's going to happen down at the mall. The mall will survive with these healthcare professionals coming in, and like I said, with healthcare professionals comes money, and with money comes spending, and with spending comes new stores. So we'll see how that works out. No, it's not a smoke shop. I mean, not one of these vape shops. Please don't insult the people like myself who smoke a cigar every once in a while. We don't do these vape stores and these little tiny smoke shops. We're talking about a real cigar shop, like going to Wallingford or Berlin and going to a real cigar shop. That's what I'm talking about. But, I said this last week. Obviously, the gas tax is here, and now you're paying 25 cents less per gallon. Well, you think you are. Listen, I said it, how this is all pandering. This is nothing but election year pandering. And again, while I said if I was there, I would vote for it because, one, it's money back in your pockets. If you think it's 25 cents, you're greatly mistaken. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry that you believe that. What's really going to happen is what I talked about last time, is that you're going to believe you're getting a 25-cent discount. And what you're going to see for the first week and a half is exactly that. You're going to see 25 cents off. But as you get into the next couple weeks, you're going to sit there and see that prices are going back up. And what you're really going to get at the end of the day is like a 10 cents off per gallon when you look at it from what you would be paying now or last week. There is no way, and I'm going to say this just because I'm even being in the business, it's not going to happen. 25 cents is not going to happen. You're going to see maybe a discount of 5 cents, 5 to 10 cents. And of course, these companies are going to keep the rest of it. And again, that's not a criticize. I'm not criticizing the gas companies, the gas stations and all that. Listen, we've been getting screwed for, the last couple of months with how prices are going up and down. Yeah, I mean, to think that somehow this solves the problem does not. If they wanted to make a real change and a real difference in how to see prices come down, they're going after the wrong tax. They should have went after the diesel tax, which every truck driver and every company in this city and this state uses. So if you want to see real prices come down, the diesel tax would have been the one you would have gone after, but they did not. They went after the gas tax because you as a voter used that one. And therefore, if they could sit there and pat themselves again, break their arm, patting themselves on the back again, because they love to do that, that only made sense. We love our voters. We love our citizens. So we're going to give them the reduction on the 25-cent gas tax. even though they knew damn well, that the people were never going to see a 25-cent decrease. They did it for the first week because, well, you can't hide it. Let's be honest. You can't hide it. But after a week goes and prices go up and down, it's easily to hide. 25 cents quickly turns into 15 cents, quickly turns into 10 cents. And that's being realistic. And that's, again, being real. We're having real talk here. No BS. Again, coming from someone who's in the business, that's exactly what's going to happen. Yes, I see they did have an accident at the Vollano gas station over there in off Cook Avenue there. I don't know exactly what happened, but again, just one more thing where I sit there and say all the time about having mobile fueling. Gas is not burned at your house. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to worry about that stuff. That hopefully is coming in the future. So, but I think taking a $90 million hit on the Special Transportation Fund by doing this 25-cent gimmick, again, that's what it is. It's a gimmick. Doesn't do any justice other than gather a couple of votes. I would love to see a roller ring. I had one back in East Haven back when I was a kid. But the problem is today, let's be, again, if we're going to have some straight talk here, the issue you're having with something like a roller ring is that, let's be honest, a lot of the kids today aren't disciplined. And the next thing you know, you got fights, you got gangs in there. And let's be realistic. Let's be honest about it. If we were going to have the conversation on things for kids to do. Doing outside stuff will probably, you get a better chance of controlling it. But I think a roller ring, while I would love it, unless you're going to hire a ton of security, I don't think it's feasible. So, well, of course it was a bipartisan vote, Hanson. You don't listen to anything we say. Anyone who voted against it is an idiot. I would have voted for it because, again, it's money back into people's pockets. But to sit there and say that, that to pat yourself on the back and say, look what we did for you, is BS. It's an election year gimmick. Because the people are not getting it. And that's the point I think you don't understand, is that the people are not getting a 25-cent discount on gasoline. It's not happening. I will tell you that from experience. It's not happening. You're going to have 1 week of that, and that's it. And then as prices, like I said, as prices go up and down, you're going to see that dwindle away down to about 10 cents. I don't care if it was bipartisan or not. It's a dumb idea. It's a dumb idea. If they really, really, really cared about lowering prices at the gas pump and everywhere else, whether it's in the grocery stores and the retail stores, you go after the diesel tax because that's what companies use to get your goods from here to there. That's how you sit there and give people relief. Not a gimmick of just doing a 25-cent gas tax because you know your voters use that. That's the deal. And that's the reality of the gas tax vacation there. And did someone really just say that American Steakhouse was a steakhouse? I hope not. I'm sitting there trying who put it? Oh God! I please hope he did not just put that. I do see a new steakhouse going. I would see a steakhouse or something like that going into over at the mall. Listen, I'm telling you, if you get enough, I think if you get enough, again, healthcare professionals in there, I think you see some great things coming out. Yes. Okay. I'm glad that was a joke. I was hoping so. I've been to American. Listen, I grew up on American Steakhouse. I've been to American Steakhouse in Brantford many a times over my time as a kid, and oh my God, I look at it today and I'm like, oh my God, how did I eat this stuff? But speaking of gas taxes, though, And the way gas prices are going, obviously the president has announced that he's going to open up 1 million barrels a day over for the next 6 months from the petroleum reserve, which I think is nowhere close to enough to try to get prices under control. Hey, listen, there's still plenty of people that go there. But listen, 1 million gallons, if you made it about 5 million gallons a day, you could actually make a dent in it. And the more and more that the president tries to blame Putin and Russia for what's going on with gas prices, the more he's losing. Because if anyone didn't notice, there's a Quinnipiac poll that came out that said only 24% of Americans, and again, this is Quinnipiac here in Hamden, and they're one of the leading polling colleges in the country. 24% of Americans believe the gas prices is because of the war in Ukraine. And then 41% believe it's due to Biden's policies. Now, people are onto it because we've noticed, and in fact, we showed a graph on this show maybe about a month and a half ago, of what happened since Joe Biden took office. And since Joe Biden took office, prices have gone up and up and up and up. And it's not because anything else was going on in the world, other than the fact that the American president was saying that America was closed to energy production. And when you have policies that limit energy production, of course, prices are going up, supply and demand. So for anyone to sit there, and again, the American people are not stupid. No matter how many times liberals think they are, the American people are not stupid. They know what's going on. They see it because they see it every day, every time they pass by the pump. And until you see stickers that says blame Putin on it, on the gas pumps, instead of let's go Biden or let's go Brendan, the White House loses this battle. So they should stop. Stop trying to blame everybody else other than themselves. Because as soon as he said he was going to release 1 million barrels of oil, you saw oil prices start going down. Imagine what he would have done if he said he was going to do 5 million. Because that could really begin to affect world pricing and world distribution. But instead he doesn't. They push clean energy. They push electric cars. It's like, yes, for the 30% of Americans that are trying to drive a car that's 15, 20 years old and more, you tell them to go from a $5,000 car, $2,000 car, to a $60,000 electric car. Yes, that's feasible, right? That's totally common sense. Only in a Washington elitist liberal mind. That's the only place that statement is feasible. Well, we're going to push people to electric cars. You got a majority of Americans who can't spend $500 to fix the car they have now. And you're telling them they're going to sit there and spend $60,000 for an electric car. That is how out of touch Washington is with the American people. But we're going to leave it at that because it's almost 8 o'clock and everybody should be leaving this show and going over and watching the UConn women's basketball. Again, that starts at 8 o'clock over on ESPN. So if you're gonna watch that, let's go UConn women. Cars and batteries equal. Yeah, listen, we won't even get into that tonight. But the amount of energy that's used to make batteries for electric cars is polluting the world more than actual diesel and gasoline. And you're on to something there, Sean. We'll talk about that next week, though. Because until then, guys, go watch UConn basketball. Let's go for our 12th victory, or well, actually, let's be our 12th or 13th. Either one, doesn't matter, because we're going to win a national championship tonight. So, guys, I love each and every one of you. I thank you all for being here, as always. We will be here again next Sunday to go over all the things that happened this week. So until then, I love you. God bless you. God bless these great United States of America and everyone here. Until then, I will see you guys next week.
And the million faces formed together, made for elevation. And the soldier won't surrender faith.